There was three main reasons that Dr. King was assassinated. One was his opposition to Vietnam.
Yes.
As you know, war is big business. Because once people go to war, the corporations get to provide the war with whatever they need. That's billions of dollars.
Yes.
So he was speaking against the business interests of corporate America. That's one reason. Second reason that Dr. King was assassinated was Lyndon Baines Johnson had put together a Kerner Commission to study the causes of the riots of the long, hot summer of 1967.
Okay.
And if you remember, Newark, New Jersey and Detroit, Michigan led the way with the 67 riots, right?
Yes, they did.
We didn't see nothing like it again until Rodney King. Okay, so when the Kerner Commission released this report in '68, they provided Dr. King with all of the statistical information and anecdotal information to support his breadbasket campaign that he announced on December the 4th of 1967 and was going to be initiating the day after he left Memphis. Dr. King wasn't murdered in Memphis for reasons to do to Memphis. Dr. King was murdered in Memphis because his next stop was D.C. So with the breadbasket campaign, he was going to bring poor Americans to D.C. Nobody was going to leave until they had a home and a job. This would have embarrassed the American capitalist white power structure.
Yes,
they said, we can't let him come here. So they lured him to Memphis by killing the sanitation workers that got crushed up in the trash truck.
Yes.
That was a deliberate murder by the FBI.
Really?
To get King back to Memphis, yes.
Okay.
Because if he didn't come back to Memphis, he was going straight to D.C.
Correct.
They had to get him to Memphis so they could take his life, so the breadbasket campaign never takes place. But getting back to the Kerner Commission was so powerful because it was ordered by the president. So your own researchers came back and said the riots was caused by racism, sustained by racism,
Yes, sir.
perpetuated by racism. Basically, the reason Dr. King was going to D.C. with the breadbasket campaign was fully justified and researched in the Kerner Commission report. Dr. King had to die because once he got his hands on that Kerner Commission report and going to D.C. with the breadbasket campaign, he would have forced the economic revolution in America, radical redistribution of resources. You would have saw this country be forced to redistribute the resources of this country if Dr. King would have made it to D.C.
Let me ask a question. Because you read different things, you hear different things. What about some of the inside people that he was close to, black? They say Reverend Abernathy had a little something to do with it. They say a lot of us were involved with that. We betrayed him, infiltrated.
Oh, we absolutely
with the
did.
FBI.
Absolutely, we did. We know for a fact that Dr. King was supposed to stay at the Holiday Inn Hotel in Memphis.
Okay.
He was not supposed to be at Divine Lorraine. The reason Dr. King's hotel was switched from Holiday Inn to Divine Lorraine is members of the black community found out that he was not staying at the black hotel. And so they started criticizing Dr. King for staying at the white hotel. So Dr. King's team said, we got to switch you over to Divine Lorraine due to this criticism. We find out after the fact, the criticism was fabricated. They needed to get Dr. King to the Divine Lorraine Hotel because it was an easier target. The windows over there, the balcony over there, is like a shooting gallery. Perfect scene for an assassination. So they manipulated that criticism to force Dr. King to the Divine. Now, once he gets to the Divine Lorraine Hotel in Memphis, he's assigned to a room on the ground floor. Somebody from the Atlanta office of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference called Divine Lorraine and requested that Dr. King's room be switched from the ground floor to the top floor so they can have an easier shoot. Yes. We also know that at least two of the reverends there knew that Dr. King was likely to be murdered on that day. And according to the King family attorney, William Pepper, anybody can research. Do your research on William Pepper.
Okay.
Go on YouTube, watch his interviews. This is the attorney that sued on behalf of the family, proving in court that it was the FBI who killed him, not James Earl Ray. According to William Pepper, Jesse Jackson, allegedly, this is according to the white attorney, Jesse Jackson was a collaborator with the FBI to some extent with the Dr. King murder. And one of the two pieces of evidence that make Jesse look guilty. Piece number one. And by the way, from what I understand, allegedly, Reverend Jesse Jackson was not allowed to attend Queen Mother Coretta Scott King's funeral. When Coretta Scott King died, Dr. King's wife, widow, Jesse was not allowed to attend the funeral. That's what I've been told, because his family believed that Jesse was involved in their father's murder. So anyway, two things that make Jesse look guilty. There was a group of local security that came to protect Dr. King in Memphis. Just like my brothers come to secure me, grassroots security. There was some grassroots security that came to support Dr. King. I forget their names, right?
Right.
Jesse Jackson told them they were not needed. He called them off. He made them leave the hotel. They showed up to defend Dr. King's life. Jesse Jackson told them they would not lead it. That's guilt number one. Guilt number two, if you watch the video, go on YouTube and watch the video moments before Dr. King was murdered. They get out the car, they walk upstairs to the balcony. You see Jesse looking like this the whole time. What is Jesse looking for? It's on YouTube. Go watch it yourself. What do you know is about to happen that got you looking in every direction around the hotel, bro? I want you to watch that yourself.
And they have pictures of them showing them all on through. Reverend Abernathy.
Oh, this straight video. This straight video.
Yeah.
Straight video. Jesse doing this, walking up the steps. If I'm walking with you up the steps and I'm doing this, don't that mean
you know something's
you know something about the pop? Here's the third piece. The Green Berets of the U.S. Army were the backup killers. The man who killed Dr. King, I forget his name, but he was a sharpshooter for the Memphis Police Department. But you know, the government doesn't take chances. They double up. So the Green Berets was put on the roof of the building where they claimed James Earl Ray shot from. Green Berets of the Army was up there. The Green Berets were the backup killers. The Green Berets, according to their testimony, who was on the roof,
right?
They were told to make sure they didn't shoot anybody who was not wearing a shirt and a tie. They said anybody wearing flat, if they were flat collared, they were a friendly. The exact word was friendly. So here's the question you got to ask me. If the Green Berets were told friendlies were not wearing suits and ties, they would be wearing flat collars. Might have on a suit, but a flat collar. How did Jesse Jackson know not to wear a shirt and a tie that day?
And on that
Jesse
note,
was flat collar. Jesse was flat collar.
And you're right, because he had a jacket on.
I flat.
Remember the picture.
No tie.
Look, this is getting hot.
So the Black Star Line was Marcus Garvey's plan to give black people a global distribution network. So right now, we don't have a global distribution network. You follow me? If you, well, with internet, you do now, right? But if you have something physical that you need to ship and sell across the country, across the world, you're going to have to go to FedEx, UPS, Post Office, DHL, the Chinese, the Arabs. Black people do not have their own distribution. You follow me? And without that distribution, even in music to some extent, a lot of them outside of the independents now, which are growing, they distribute through the majors. Right? One time, about 10 years ago, Puffy didn't have distribution for Bad Boy. He couldn't sell nothing until he signed a distribution deal. So the issue with distribution is that's the only way black people are really going to be able to compete commercially and economically, because we can't ship nothing. If you sell sneakers and you need to get your sneakers into every store across the world, who's going to ship them for you? Because we don't have that. You follow what I'm saying? If he sells his own car, he make his own car. But how you gonna get that car? You can't transport it. So Garvey said with the Black Star Line, we could transport anything black people produce, but that would have destroyed white supremacy. That would have destroyed the economic control of the black dollar. So they had to destroy the Black Star Line. And no black leader since Garvey, has tried to give us a distribution network. There's never been another attempt at a Black Star Liner. So which is interesting. Why? Because more than 80% of everything you eat, wear, or use comes by a ship. Do you feel me? Almost everything in your house got to you from a ship, because China is the leading manufacturer. So it's being shipped over. So without ships, there's no distribution. And that's the importance of the Black Star Line.
And that's what happened in the pandemic. All them ships got stuck.
They got stuck.
They slowed down.
Absolutely.
Couldn't do nothing. We was waiting on cars, clothes,
absolutely,
food, everything.
Absolutely.
And let me ask you this with Marcus Garvey. So he was about Pan-Africanism.
Yes, sir. And global unification of all blacks.
Yes. And he wanted all blacks to go back to Africa.
No, he didn't. The media said he wanted all blacks to go back to Africa. The Back to Africa movement was not Marcus Garvey's words. Those words was invented by the white media. They said back to Africa to try to oversimplify Garvey's plan. Marcus Garvey said, quote, "Some of you are no good in America and will likewise be no good in Africa. I'm only interested," yes, those are his exact words, "I'm only interested in taking black people from the diaspora back to Africa who have something to contribute to Africa's growth." If you ain't got nothing to contribute, he wasn't interested in bringing you back.
With the Dr. King situation.
Yes, sir.
And we was hitting on this while I was on the mic. Jesse Jackson, I noticed when you threw
and
that
Reverend
out there,
Billy Kyles, Reverend Billy Kyles,
yeah,
or Billy Cole, Billy Kyles.
Billy Kyles
was the Reverend who was on the balcony with Dr. King. And when he walked away, that's when Dr. King got shot. And when they interviewed him, he said, he slipped up. It's on YouTube. You can watch it.
Yeah.
He said, as soon as I moved away so they could get a clear shot, the bullet rang out. Those his exact words. It's on YouTube. As soon as I moved away so they could get a clear shot. How you know who getting a clear shot and how you know a clear shot was coming? He knew.
So James Earl Ray was the scapegoat.
He was the scapegoat. And they were grooming James Earl Ray for at least 2 years before they assassinated Dr. King. So Dr. King's murder was already being planned in the event that they wanted to carry it out. But once that Kerner Commission report came out, and once that breadbasket campaigns got started, they had to take him out.
So
and a buddy of mine, Murdoch, who you know, Osizi, brother Murdoch, do you know he was locked up with James Earl Ray in Tennessee? I don't know if he was a celly, but he was locked up with him. One of my buddies was locked up with James Earl Ray in prison.
So J. Edgar Hoover,
yes, orchestrated the whole thing. But the CIA was in it as well because Dr. King's comments on Vietnam made it an international issue. Remember, FBI domestic, CIA global. You feel me? So when Dr. King started commenting on global issues, that automatically brings the CIA in.
Well, I mean, okay, now we're going deep now. So I'm going to ask you this.
And when Dr. King got to the hospital, first of all, Dr. King did not die on the balcony.
He was suffocated.
He was suffocated at the hospital with a pillow. How do we know this?
Whoa!
Dr. King died in the Memphis hospital, not on the balcony. Don't get me wrong. Had he survived, he would have never been the Dr. King we know. You follow me? He would have been severely developmentally dysfunction. However, he was still alive. So according to the testimony of a white nurse, she said that the police came into the room where Dr. King was and somebody took the pillow, might have been an FBI agent, took the pillow, put it over Dr. King's face and suffocated him to death. And all of this is in William Pepper's book, The Assassination of Dr. King, which I think everybody should read or listen to. You can actually get it off of iTunes or Apple Books.
Okay, let me ask you something else.
They suffocated him to death. And then after they killed Dr. King, they wasn't done because then they killed his brother, right? He got some AD King.
The dad died, the mama died.
Right, but the dad wasn't murdered. But King was murdered, his brother AD was murdered, and his mother was murdered.
Shot while she was playing the organ.
Exactly, and I believe that was an assassination too, because what crazy person you know, because allegedly she was murdered by the Hebrew Israelite who drove all the way from the Midwest to come to Atlanta to kill a woman who's not a political activist. What crazy person do you know is going to drive halfway across the country to kill somebody? They're going to kill them right where they live at. You follow what I'm saying? So I believe she knew something that probably would have helped explain either of her son's assassinations, AD or MLK, and that's why she had to die. And the brother died because, you know, he was actively investigating who killed his brother, and he said he felt he knew who killed Martin. He said he traced all the steps. He was also working on anti-housing discrimination legislation. It was AD King, not ML King, who's responsible for black people really getting access to white suburbs and getting their share of Section 8 money. That was AD King. AD King, they said, drowned in the pool, right?
Yeah.
They said he drowned in the pool. But he was, I think he was an expert swimmer. Number one. Number two, when the paramedics came and took his body out the pool, there was no water in his lungs. There was no water in his lungs. So if I drown,
water gonna be all in your lungs.
They say this man was dead before he hit the water. The paramedics said AD King was dead before he hit the water. He was assassinated. They killed King, killed his brother, then killed his mother. Almost reminds you of Malcolm X, right? Because they killed Malcolm X's father working for Garvey. They killed Malcolm, and then they killed Malcolm's grandson. Look at that. 3 generations murdered. Kings, the Malcolms. And I bring this up because although sometimes we romanticize revolution too much, we do this because we have to, not because we want to. You understand?
Yes.
Dr. King wasn't looking to die. Malcolm wasn't looking to die. Fred Hampton wasn't looking to die. George Jackson wasn't looking to die. Medgar Evers wasn't looking to die. Our Prentice Bunchy Carter, John Huggins, Little Bobby Hutton, they wasn't looking to die. But you just accept the fact that death can be the inevitable end when you strive for your people. As Huey Newton said, revolutionary suicide.
Man, now I'm gonna ask you this: Muhammad Ali, Cassius Clay.
Cassius Clay. And by the way, I believe they gave him Parkinson's disease.
Okay.
I believe they gave Muhammad Ali Parkinson's disease. Not that you cannot get it, because that is a disease that develops amongst boxers. But for Muhammad Ali to be the only boxer of his generation, you got to remember, he was hit less. Yeah. Muhammad Ali was hit less than almost any other boxer in his generation. How does he get Parkinson's? They gave him Parkinson's.
Okay.
They gave him Parkinson's.
Let me ask you this, because I want to know about that. Okay, so we know he fought anti-going to Vietnam.
Oh yeah.
How did he manage to live and not get killed by anybody white during that time?
Because some of us are spokespersons. Some of us are organizational leaders. A spokesperson can be a threat, but an organizational leader is a definite threat. Muhammad Ali never led a movement. Although he was a spokesperson for us, Muhammad Ali single-handedly made black beautiful by himself. Muhammad Ali is the first black man to go on TV and the radio and tell white people, I look 50 times better than you. I'm more attractive than you. I'm prettier than you, your wife, your daughter. You understand me? And by him doing that, he breathed confidence into black people. Muhammad Ali raised the self-esteem of black America almost by himself. And that's why I was always respect him. And the fact that he sacrificed his entire career and livelihood to take a stand for black folks, I don't think there's another athlete whose contribution could eclipse Muhammad Ali's in terms of being a sports protester. Okay. Now, honorable mention,
Jim Brown?
Not quite. Okay. He up there. Okay. But he don't eclipse Ali. What Ali did. No. Do you understand me? The only ones who come close is John Carlos and Tommy, was it Tommy Smith, the two brothers who did the fist at the Olympics.
Took the shoes off for the pool.
Yeah. Them two brothers and Muhammad Ali would be number one. Okay. And then I'll put
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar?
He'll be top 10.
Okay.
But he ain't top 3. Colin Kaepernick got to go up there. Because Colin Kaepernick took the knee when he was still in his prime. You feel me?
Right.
And one of the issues why I push back against people calling LeBron James an activist, and I love LeBron James. I think he's a good role model for black men. Black wife, never been in trouble, black children, good father. But LeBron James is not an activist. He's never done anything Colin Kaepernick did. Anything Kareem did. Anything Muhammad Ali did. Anything Kyrie. Anything Jim Brown. But the NBA has a vested interest in making LeBron James look like an activist because it makes them look like they're tolerant of black militancy. And they're not. So they brand LeBron. LeBron ain't never done nothing. He ain't never took no stand. He's given his voice. But activism is action, not talking.
He doesn't even talk.
Yeah, you see, I respect him, but he don't go in the activism box. LeBron James is not an activist. Never been, never will be.
In my opinion, if you ask him, he dances around everything. It's like he's
and I'm not giving up on him because he's still young. LeBron James only 35, 36. He got time. Do I have a lot of faith that he will evolve into an activist? No, because how many black retired celebrities you know actually became activists? The only time black celebrities become activists is when they get stripped of their money and their power. Now all of a sudden they want to be woke. You feel me? Do you feel me?
Yeah, you just said something.
When they get stripped, now everybody remember they black now. Now they know black history, black name, all that. Nah, do it when you in your prime, bro. Do it when you in your prime. Start off with a question about, is Dr. King responsible for the integration that took away the black community's economic power? Because he's not. I want to clarify that. Because, you know, a lot of black people try to make him the scapegoat. Dr. King should have never integrated us. We was better when we were segregated. But Dr. King didn't force you to integrate, nor did the government. You chose to go with the white folks.
So let me ask you this. Why didn't they try to, I mean, I know you don't know because you weren't there, neither was I. Okay, well, he gave I've been to the Mountain speech the last
Which
night.
is today.
Which is today.
Yes, sir.
Why did they let him get that out and then try him that night? Because
it wasn't an easy kill. Originally, the death plan was for him to be shot in a car. He's supposed to be shot in the car leaving the hotel.
Come on, okay, okay.
But when he came out onto the balcony, they couldn't resist the easy shot. The killer, the Memphis sharpshooter, who was hiding in the grassy knoll, he was supposed to shoot Dr. King as a passenger in the car, which makes me think whoever the driver was would have been in on it. Just like I think whoever the driver was in notorious B.I.G. assassination, although I'm not comparing the Big the King at all.
Of course.
But whoever was the driver in B.I.G.'s car had to be in on Biggie's murder, because why did you stop at the light when Puffy's car ran the light? Normally when you to follow a car, you go whoever in front. If they run the light, you run. Biggie's car stopped, and Biggie's car had stickers on it, and his car was the only car with stickers on it. So I believe, going back to Dr. King, the driver was going to drive so slow on the takeoff to give the police officer from Memphis department the opportunity to shoot him. He was supposed to die in the car. But when he stepped out on the balcony, they said, oh shit, we got a clean look. We got to take it.
Integrating. People think that Dr. King trying to integrate blacks was a killer of our economic system.
Yes, sir.
Break it down, please.
Dr. King is unfairly blamed for the disintegration of the black community in favor of integration. Dr. King only fought to desegregate, or should I say, the only thing that was desegregated in Dr. King's life was social and public accommodations. Hotel, restaurant, public transportation. Do you understand me?
Yes.
Nothing else. Nothing else. The Civil Rights Bill of 64 was public accommodations. But we try to blame Dr. King for why we ain't got no more communities. The schools desegregated before Dr. King. The schools desegregated before the Montgomery bus boycott. The military desegregated before the Montgomery bus boycott. All other desegregations came after Dr. King died. Dr. King is not the reason the black community suffered through integration. We wanted to be with the white folks. We gave up our independent political power. What's stopping us right now from resegregating ourselves if you really believe that's the direction we should go in? Okay. I don't believe we need to self-segregate. I believe we need to empower ourselves politically and economically. In other words, I don't care where you live. I don't care where you live. But make sure we get your money.
Right.
Make sure we get your business.
Right.
Make sure we get your support. Chinese live wherever they want. Indians live whatever they want. European Jews live whatever they want. But when it comes to political and economics, they make sure they keep that shit all within their community. We have to keep it within our community. We don't do that. Social integration is irrelevant. Political and economic empowerment is where we should focus.
We were talking about also, Dr. King, the assassination. We know April 3rd, 1968, he gave his final speech.
55 years ago.
I have been to the mountaintop. And I asked you, like, well, why didn't they try to assassinate him then? And you broke it down with some things.
He was in the evening. Right. It was rainy. All them black folks around. It wouldn't have been a good shot. It wouldn't have been a good. He was supposed. Now check this out.
Okay.
Here's where we got to get strategic with the military setups.
Okay.
Dr. King was going to be murdered in the car as he drove to dinner at a local friend's home. He was not murdered on his way to anything political. He was going to dinner. You see that?
Yes.
So how did they know where he was going? How did they know when he was going? How did they know who he was going with? So there was people all involved in that who Dr. King trusted. And when Dr. King died, you know, all respect to Ralph Abernathy, who I think might be an ancestor now himself, but I was really disappointed in Ralph Abernathy when he put his book out and the wall came tumbling down. Because in the wall came tumbling down, he exposed all of Dr. King's extramarital affairs. And I thought that was wrong because Dr. King considered Reverend Ralph Abernathy to be his best friend. So if you my best friend and I get assassinated, you put all my business out, even telling people that on the day of my assassination, I had taken company with a woman. Why? Why would you mar his image? And I'll tell you this, what I believe personally, I believe that everybody around Dr. King had some degree of jealousy for Dr. King.
That's how it is.
Do you understand me? I believe Ralph Abernathy secretly envied Dr. King because he became the man and he didn't. Now you fighting for the people. You fighting for the people. What does it matter who out front?
Rewind the tape. You said he was jealous because he was the man
and he wasn't
trying to be.
And he was trying to be the man. I mean, let's be honest. Malcolm X was murdered because people wanted his spot. I mean, let's just be honest. Right. You understand? So we got to understand that the ego of the Negro is something we're going to have to deal with if we're going to come out of this situation, because everybody got you. Because everybody can't be the front man.
No.
Everybody not the voice. You understand me?
Somebody got to be.
And everybody wants to be the voice. I've dealt with this myself. I've had microphones turned off. I had people put a mic out the wall because of the oratorical. You follow me? Yeah. And brothers, charisma. People are easily envied for those who are charismatic. Oh. So when you are charismatic, sometimes you got to control your charisma so you don't envy. I'll give you this. I've been invited to share platforms with certain national leaders. Yeah. I've denied it. You know why?
Why?
Because I said if I get on the microphone with him, I'm going to show him up without even trying. And I know his ego is so big that if I show him up, he might take that personal. And now I got to look both ways before I come out my house. Ooh. See, I know that there are black men. Some black men are willing to kill to protect their position. You understand me? Within the hierarchy of, you understand me? So my thing is, if I know I'm stronger than you on the mic, if I'm more charismatic than you, I would rather give you the whole spotlight I don't even want to rival you at all. You understand me? Because it ain't about that. I'm going to let you have your day. I have my own day.
Correct.
Because the last thing I could be dealing with is some Negro trying to stab me in the back because I'm getting more shine than him. And it shouldn't matter. Because guess what? One day I got to do what? Pass the baton. One day I got to give it to a younger brother. So if I'm more concerned about Dr. Umar being number one than I'm concerned about black people being number one, when it's time for me to pass the mic, I might kill him. You understand me?
Right.
I don't want him to take my spot. I'm Dr. Umar Johnson. I've been Dr. Umar Johnson for 40 years. Who this young brother fresh out of college speaking better than me, a stronger Pan-Africanist than me, and more? You understand me? If I love my people, young man, it's your time now.
Jealousy breeds envy.
Jealousy breeds envy, but it also breeds a lack of progress. We can't move. Because guess what? One of the laws of nature is what? The next generation automatically supposed to be better than this one.
Correct.
The next generation automatically supposed to be better than this one. So if I'm not willing to concede leadership to the next generation, I'm not doing this for black people. I'm doing this to myself. In other words, too many black leaders are serving their ego, but they think they're serving the people.
I had to be quiet after that because you said so much stuff right there that people already know but have never heard it broken down like that. So let's take this ego with politics, the educational system with the African American men and women growing up, elementary school, junior high, high school. I heard you in an interview. I remember back in the day, I'm class of '89. I'm old school. We had Votech. You had a way in school, free school, to get a trade, to learn how to live as an adult, even if you did not go to college, get a degree. Why did they take Votech out of schools?
To lay the groundwork for the mass incarceration of black males and to make the black man economically irrelevant to the black woman. The 1970s was the decade of the mass incarceration of black males. This is the laying the groundwork. This is the evolution. Right? Mass incarceration of black males because America didn't need us no more. Mass incarceration of black males and making a black man economically irrelevant to the black woman. In other words, we're going to make sure his woman does not fight by his side for economic justice. And that's one of the reasons they rolled the welfare programs in the black community. The welfare programs was not to help black women and their children. The welfare programs was to distract black women away from the fact that if you had your man, you wouldn't need welfare. And even now, the black woman is still being brainwashed, some of them, away from understanding that the black man's unemployment and incarceration is a government-created condition. It ain't because he's lazy. Some are, but not most. It ain't because he don't want to do better. Some don't, but most do. You understand me?
Yes.
This is the ghetto was created by the government. Mass incarceration was government. Miseducation is government. Gentrification is government. Economic justice is government. Police genocide is government. Here's what I say to black people who say black people are our own worst problem. If we are our own worst problem, name one institution we control. Give me one. Nothing. We don't control the economy. We don't control the prisons. We don't control the schools. So how could I be my own worst enemy when I control none of the systems that are crushing me daily?
Oh, gosh. Because, when they took that out of schools, you still have trade schools and all that. There was a diminish in the population of black men basically taking trades in schools to come out and be successful and raise a family. Now, to the guys out here that are listening to us right now that are kind of in a slump, they are misguided mentally. They have no drive. They are caught in a systematic world of the just hustling and all that type of stuff. What is your advice to them?
My advice wouldn't be for them as much it would be for the community. Because remember, it takes a village. And my problem with us as American Africans is we often segmentalize and fragmentalize populations of the black community as if we don't all contribute to their malady. So the question is not, what do black youth need to do different? The question is, what does the black community need to do differently so black youth can be empowered? You don't get these drive-by shootings without the black community ignoring the youth. You don't get 8 and 9-year-olds robbing old women for their car keys if they were being supervised and raised correctly. So the dysfunction of black youth is the dysfunction of the black community. But if you notice, when you hear these conversations, it's always about black mothers need to do better. Black fathers need to do better. Black youth need to change their behavior. the black community needs to reinvent itself as a community that cares about its people. We're the only community in America that does not have safeguards to protect its own. When is the last time you seen a homeless Mexican?
In LA.
When is the last time you seen a homeless European Jew?
In New York.
But not often. You see
Right.
homeless black people all the time. You understand me?
Right,
My
correct.
point is most cultures have a safety net to protect their downtrodden. We don't have a safety net to protect our downtrodden. So what happens to the black downtrodden when they're hungry and homeless? They turn on black people. So in many ways, the violence that's gripping our community is our own collective community karma consciousness. We gave birth to this as much as white America did. The 8-year-old as killer, every black person's DNA is on that 8-year-old as killer's life. Because if black men was on their job, he could have never became a killer. Black men are abandoning the black community. We move out to the white suburb. I don't know of a black professional man who still lives in the hood he grew up in. I don't know one. Everyone I know moved to the suburb. You know a couple, but it's few and far in between. So if I'm a young 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old black boy, who's going to be my role model if I don't got none in my neighborhood? I'm going to go to the rappers. I'm going to go to the basketball players. And you know who's still in the hood? You know who's still in the hood? The gangbangers and the drug dealers. And that's why they the role models. Because all other black men have abandoned our boys.
Okay.